Hello, folks. We are starting. Allow me 1 second, please. We are starting, and welcome back to season 2 of Adult Hebrew. Allow me to pull up a little document here. Oh, pardon me. Excuse me 1 second. This is Mi Chamocha, and you probably remember that there is a Mi Chamocha, which we learned a few months ago in the other Hebrew lesson. Mi Chamocha is incredibly important. Me is the question word who, W-H-O, who or who is. Mi Chamocha, who is like you amidst all other gods, if there were other gods. Adonai. And that's a different way of writing God's name. I'm using a different prayer book as a template for today because I want you to get accustomed to different fonts of writing. We should enlarge that a little bit. So Mi Chamocha, who is like you if there were other gods, O God, Adonai? Mi Kamocha Nedar Bakodesh, who is like you, powerful in holiness, No Ra Tahilot Ose Fela, awesome in praises, doing miracles and wonders. Mi Chamocha is a phrase that comes out of the book of Exodus. The specific location is chapter 15. You may remember that when the people of Israel exited the land of Egypt, they came forth, and then there was the Sea of Reeds, not Red Sea. Somebody who didn't know better made a mistake and wrote it in English as red, but it's Reed, R-E-E-D, the Reed Sea or the Sea of Reeds. The people of Israel crossed the Sea of Reeds. The waters came crashing down and swallowed the Egyptian army. And Miriam led the people in dancing and singing. It's Exodus chapter 15. Pardon me. And a phrase within that chapter of poetry and song is Mi Chamocha. Who else could be compared to the God of Israel? It's a rhetorical question. Of course, no one, nothing. So that's Mi Chamocha. It's a pivotal experience, and therefore we have the Mi Chamocha chanted or recited or offered every morning and every evening of the entire year in the Hebrew liturgy. Every morning and every evening we say Mi Chamocha. This is the morning version, M-O-R-N-I-N-G, and the version that you learned previously is the evening version. But it begins the same way, Mi Chamocha, and we Jews talk about Mi Chamocha all the time. Sometimes we call it the Mi Chamocha. Two separate words, Mi Chamocha, Mi Chamocha, Ba'elim Adonai, Mi Kamocha, Nedar Bakodesh. And you see that this is Chamocha and this is Kamocha. Ask me why, and I'll say we don't really have a good answer. It's been handed down that way for 3,300 years. There are a few attempts to figure out the grammatical differentiation between Chamocha and Kamocha, but to be honest, nobody has really come up with a good explanation as to why this was conveyed orally for centuries or millennia and then written down in this manner. Next part. Shira Chadasha Shibchu Geulim. Shira Chadasha Shibchu Geulim. L'shimcha al Safat Hayam. Yachad Kulam Hodu v'him lichu v'amru. Yachad kulam hodu v'him lichu v'amru. Let's review Shirah. Shirah chadasha shibchu geulim l'shimcha al sifat hayam. Yachad kulam hodu v'him lichu v'amru. Yachad kulam hodu v'him lichu v'amru. This is again a nickname for God. It's spelled in this manner. If you ever see this word with a double yud, the shava, and the ah vowel, don't try to pronounce it ya. This is a nickname in printer's convention form or format of Adonai. And we just have to memorize this is another name for God, Adonai. Adonai yimloch la'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch la'olam va'ed. This is the conclusion of the morning Michamocha. 4 lines. Tzur Yisrael Kuma Be'ezrat Yisrael Ufdei Chin Umecha Yehuda Ve'Yisrael. Let's review that. Ufdei Chin Umecha Yehuda Ve'Yisrael. I just noticed that there's a small typo here. It's Chin Umcha, but it is pronounced Chin Umecha. Chin Umecha. Chin Umecha. Ufdei Chin Umecha. Yehuda v'Yisrael. I apologize for bringing that typo into your reading. I'll try to correct that for next time. Go Aleinu Adonai Tsevaot Shemo Kadosh Yisrael. Go Aleinu Adonai Tsevaot Shemo Kadosh Yisrael. Baruch Atah Adonai Gaal Yisrael. Baruch Atah Adonai Gaal Yisrael. Just a little quick translation. Sing a new song, all of you who are redeemed and safe, praising God's glorious name here on the edge of the sea, all together. Praise and assert the sovereignty of God and proclaim Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed. God will rule forever and ever. This is a very famous quote. V'amru means y'all say the following words, and this is the following phrase, the quote, Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed. It appears in many different places, and it comes out of this context. And so often you'll hear the phrase Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed in other situations separate from Michamocha. Rock of Israel, arise in the help of Israel, redeem in accordance with your testimony the tribe of Judah and the people of Israel. Redeem us, God of the heavenly host, which is your name, the Holy One of Israel. Blessed are you, God, who has redeemed Israel. And now a melody. There are a number of different melodies in Michamocha. This is a fairly typical melody that you will hear in many conservative synagogues. Michamocha bo'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot Osef eleh, Shira chadasha Shivachu geulim L'shimcha al Safat Hayam. Yachad Kulam Hodu Behim Lichu Va'amru Adonai Yimloch La'olam Va'ed. Sur Yisrael Kuma Be'ezrat Yisrael Ufadei Chinumecha Yehuda V'Yisrael. Go Aleinu Adonai Tzavot Shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch Atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. I think it's enough practice for one day, just a little bit at a time, hitting the high points, the highlights. You've learned the Birchot Shachar, you learned the Baruch Shamar, you've learned a little bit now the Michamocha, and we will review some of the tefillot, some of the prayers that you learned in the prior session as we go forward a little bit. But I want you to have the confidence to offer some prayers in the morning, which are a little distinctive than the evening service. Until we see each other again, lahitra'o, which means until we see each other